for the Vice Chancellor's procession. The Vice Chancellor's procession is made up directors of institutes, directors of academic programs, deans of schools, deans of faculties, the dean of students, the provost, college of medical sciences, the provost, college of postgraduate studies, the inaugural lecturer, and principal officers of our university, with the Vice Chancellor as captain of the ship. The Vice Chancellor's procession. We remain standing. We'll take the first two stanzas of the national anthem, followed by the Uniben anthem. chairman of inaugural lecture, our indomitable, indefatigable, cerebral, purpose-driven Vice-Chancellor in Learned Silk, Professor Edoba ONYE, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Your Excellencies, top government functionaries here present, Your Royal Highnesses, former Vice-Chancellors of our great university and heads of other institutions and organizations, specifically the Vice-Chancellor, Inaugural University Okada, Professor Lawrence EZEMONYE, other principal officers of the great University of Benin, the provosts, deans, directors, the inaugural lecturer and family, professors emeriti, our respected scholars, other respected scholars here present, my lords, spiritual, greatest UNIBEN staff and students, invited guests, especially the Inaugural University Okada community, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today we witness the 354th inaugural lecture of the University of Benin, and we welcome you especially to one of Africa's most sought-after universities, the University of Benin. I thought you would clap for UNIBEN. We are making waves. Today's lecture is to be delivered by one of our brightest and best, a professor of hydrology and water resource management, Professor Mary NKIRU EZEMONYE. The topic of lecture is water scarcity, water stress, and water security, the S syndrome. May I now invite the representative of the registrar and Deputy Registrar Senate Matters, Mrs. Comfort Ehigiato, to formally introduce the Vice-Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor's procession. Vice-Chancellor, sir. I welcome you all to the 354th inaugural lecture series of this great university. The Registrar of the University of Benin, Mr. Ademola Bobola, is away on other official engagements, and he has requested me to represent him. He sends his greetings to you all. I am Comfort Inaugural Ehigiato, Deputy Registrar, Senate Matters. All courtesies duly extended. As stated by the PRO of the university, Dr. Mrs. Benedicta Heamire, let me introduce the Vice-Chancellor's procession. Today's procession is led by our determined, focused, transformational, and energetic Vice-Chancellor. I therefore crave your indulgence to present to this great audience our own learner-sick Vice-Chancellor, Professor Edoba ONYE. Other principal officers, provosts, deans, and directors in his procession are as follows. Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic, Professor B.O. Igunereka. Deputy Vice-Chancellor Ekenwa, Professor B.A. Ayinde. The University Bursar, Mr. O.I. Osifo. Provost, College of Postgraduate Studies, Professor D.N. Izeko. Provost, College of Medical Sciences, Professor W.E. Sado. Dean of Students, Professor V.O. Ekaise. The OSD Faculty of Social Sciences is represented by Professor Justin Ayerisi. The Faculty of Agric, Professor C.O. Emokaro. The Faculty of Arts, Professor O.B. Osadolo. The School of Basic Clinical Sciences, Professor V.J. Ekanem. The School of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor H.B. Osadolo. Full-time Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, is represented by Professor F.E. Olise. Full-time Dean, Faculty of Computing, is Professor Mrs. V.V.N. Akukuma. The Acting Dean, School of Dentistry, Professor Mrs. J.E. Enabulele. Dean, Faculty of Education, Professor K.O. Omorogiwa. Dean, Faculty of Engineering, Professor K.O. Ogbede. Dean, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, Professor Igato Irigbe Erafel. Dean, Faculty of Law is represented by Dr. Mrs. Iyamu Ojo. Dean, Faculty of Life Sciences, Professor T.O.T. Imobe. Dean, School of Medicine is represented by Professor N.O. Onaruna. Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, Professor Mrs. E.I. Erayiro Osaige. Potent Dean, Faculty of Nursing Science, Professor F.U. Okafo. Potent Dean, Faculty of Optometry is represented by Dr. K.N. Bazwaye. Dean, Faculty of Pharmacy, Professor Ogodaro Igbo. Dean, Faculty of Physical Sciences, Professor E.O. Ayoyi. Potent Dean, Faculty of Science, Laboratory Technology, Professor J.O. Osamese. Dean, Faculty of Vocational and Technical Education, Professor E.E. Uko Abiomo. Director, Third Form NUC World Bank Center of Excellence, Professor E.S. Omorigi. Director, Center for Gender Studies, Professor Lucy A. Okuku. Director, Center for Entrepreneurship Development, Professor B.O. Edegbai. Director, Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer, Professor S.E. Omonigo. Director, Center for Sustainable Development Goals, Professor Mrs. F.I. Okunbowa. Director, Quality Assurance, Professor Peter I. Sebe. Director, University Advancement and Alumni Relations, Professor Eddie Eraige. Director, Advanced Digital Engineering Center, ADEC, Professor R.S. Aroyaye. Director, General Studies, Professor N. Ohomba. Director, Africa Center for Mushroom Research and Technology Innovations, Professor E.O. Akaja. Director, Central Research Lab, Professor B. Ehajagbe. Director, UBITS, Professor S.D. Iyeke. Director, Step B Program, Professor Mrs. NKIRU Ojo. Director, Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NELFON, Professor E.E. Imarabe. Acting Director, Institute of Public Admin and Health Services Management, Dr. John Osagai. Director, Center for Educational Technology, Dr. Mrs. M.B. Hebawa. Today's procession is led by Mrs. Dupe Obayagu, Senior Assistant Registrar, Senate Matters. I now have the honor and privilege to invite our dear Vice Chancellor to introduce the inaugural lecturer for today. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Principal officers of the University of Benin, Provost College of Postgraduate Studies, Provost College of Medical Sciences, Deans of Faculties and Schools, Directors of Institutes and Centers, members of the University's Governing Council, before Professor Emerita, let me acknowledge very specially former Vice Chancellor of the University of Benin, Professor Andrew Onokoraye, who is himself also a Professor Emeritus, Professor Emerita and members of Senate of the University of Benin, my Lord, spiritual and temporal, staff and students of the great University of Benin, great university students, distinguished invited guests and friends of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps you should also permit me, I thought I'm seeing Dr. Goodwill Obodo. I don't know whether he's the one, but I don't think he's the one. It looks so much like him. But anyway, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with delight I welcome you all to the 354th in the inaugural lecture series of the University of Benin. Today's lecture is the 10th to be delivered in the defunct Department of Geography and Regional Planning, the 26th in the Faculty of Social Sciences, the 25th to be delivered in my tenure as Vice Chancellor of the University. It is my pleasure to introduce our lecturer for today. She is Professor Mrs. Mary NKIRU EZEMONYE. The title of our lecture is Water Scarcity, Water Stress, Water Security, the X Syndrome. Professor Mrs. EZEMONYE was born on the 17th day of September 1960 to the family of Mr. John Okechukwu Ibiziako of Ogboli Olasi village, Onitsha, in the current day Anambra State, and to Mrs. Leah Chiazo Ibiziako ni Obomse of Odoje village, pardon my pronunciation, also of Onitsha, Anambra State. She had a primary school education at All Saints School, Enugu. She then attended the Federal Government College, Enugu, where she obtained a West African School Certificate in grade 1 in the year 1977. She also went to bag higher school certificate in 1979. She thereafter gained admission into the prestigious University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to study geography and graduated with a bachelor's degree in geography in 1982. Professor Mrs. EZEMONYE participated in the one-year mandatory National Youth Service in the former College of Education, Yaro, Benin City, from 1982 to 1983. In our quest for more knowledge, Professor Mrs. EZEMONYE obtained the following additional degrees from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. She obtained the Master of Science degree in Geography with sub-specialization in Hydrology and Water Resources in 1985. She obtained the Postgraduate Diploma in Education in 1987 and then capped her academic journey with the terminal degree of the PhD in Hydrology and Water Resources in 2009. Professor Mrs. EZEMONYE joined the services of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, as an assistant lecturer in 1987 and rose through ranks to become lecturer grade 1 in the year 2007. Thereafter joined the services of the University of Benin in 2007 as lecturer grade 1 in the defunct Department of Geography and Regional Planning and rose through the ranks to the position of a professor in 2017. He has held several administrative positions within the university, such as the member, University Post-Matriculation Examination Committee from the year 2007 to 2008. She was also a member, Faculty of Social Sciences Examination Malpractice Committee from 2007 to 2015. She became head Department of Geography and Regional Planning from 2014 to 2016 and a member University of Benin Eminent Lecture Series 2014 to 2015. Also, Mrs. EZEMONYE belongs to the following professional bodies: Association of Nigerian Geographers, Nigerian Environmental Society, Nigerian Association of Hydrological Sciences, and many more. She has been honored with the following awards of excellence and leadership: the Federal Government Merit Award for excellence in the graduate class 1979 to 1980, Best Lecturer, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Benin, 2012 to year 2012. Then she also obtained the award TED Fund, National Research Fund, the very prestigious TED Fund Award as winner in the year 2020. Everyone knows how difficult it is to access that fund. So I want to especially mention this and congratulate her. She has successfully supervised and co-supervised 4 doctoral theses, 30 master's science dissertations. Professor Ms. EZEMONYE has over 35 academic publications comprising chapters in books and articles in peer-reviewed journals. She is a reviewer to many local and international journals. She has served as external examiner, as assessor, resource person to many Nigerian universities for the National Universities Commission. She has attended several local, national, and international conferences. Professor Mrs. NKIRU EZEMONYE hobbies are teaching and research. Why not? That's all we all do anyway. She's a devout Christian of the Catholic faith and worships at the Holy Rosary Catholic Church here in Ugbo and then at the St. Albert Catholic Church right here on campus. She's married to a very distinguished colleague, former Deputy Vice Chancellor of this great university and presently Vice Chancellor of the first private university in this country, the Inaugural University. Our very dear friend, currently the president of the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigeria. That's the Apex. And that's my own brother, my body. Somebody I regard as a very big brother. I was reading through and I saw Madam saying that, the profile saying that you can do it. Mary, you can do it. I think that's what you are known for. Even for me, you used to say that to me too. So I introduce somebody that we all know and we all love, we respect, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu EZEMONYE. And the union is blessed with 4 children, all medical doctors. And many grandchildren. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to invite Professor Mrs. Mary NKIRU EZEMONYE to deliver our inaugural lecture.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to stand on the already well-established protocol. I should actually continue, but this is one chance, one opportunity that I have to stand here and tell my husband all other protocols observed. Good evening, everybody. I am here before you to present my inaugural lecture. The title of my lecture is Water Scarcity, Water Stress, and Water Security, the S syndrome. Very simple concepts that mean so much in view of everyday life. Dedication. My work is dedicated to Almighty God, who taught me that every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh from the Father of lights, from whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. It is also dedicated to my late parents, Mr. John Okechukwu Ibeziako and Mrs. Leah Chiazo Ibeziako. They showed me great examples and taught me the ideology that a girl child is important in every home and that they are the bedrock of every successful home. My work is specially dedicated in loving memory of my late and only brother. I was blessed with only one brother, Obiora James Ibeziako. Though very much younger than me, Obiora always had this strange way of affecting my life. One day, Professor EZEMONYE was throwing out his papers, and I was intimidated. My brother was there, and he kept quiet. When Lawrence left, he said, in very simple Igbo language, Mama Soto, Idugalondi Ozolo, which means, Mama Soto, did you escort others to work? This was a wake-up call in terms of academics for me. I haven't been able to compete, but I have kept pace. It is also dedicated to my covenant husband. Thank you for affirming God's promise in my life that I can move mountains and I can scale over troops. I would not be standing here today if you did not keep saying, Mary, do it, you can do it. And I'm referring to Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu EZEMONYE. Preamble. I am entirely grateful to God who has made today possible for me to be here as the 354th lecturer in the inaugural lecture series of the University of Benin. Vice Chancellor, sir, in the Department of, I heard you saying defunct, so I'll follow your trend. In the defunct Department of Geography and Regional Planning, University of Benin, 9 inaugural lectures have been delivered by diverse experts, and I am presently the 10th. Uniquely, I stand here to present this inaugural lecture as the 3rd physical geographer and the very first female in the Department of Geography and in Hydrology and Water Resources. I am reliably informed that the faculty is 50 years old. So it took 50 years old for a female to mount this podium. Thank you for granting me the honor. I thank the Vice Chancellor for graciously granting me approval to deliver this lecture. in the beginning. I was born into a family of learned parents. My father was the Chief Secretary of East Central States, if you understand what I mean, the current SST that they talk about. I had the privilege of living with domestic servants that came from very remote and less privileged homes. They came at a time after the Nigerian Civil War when healthcare practices were very low and antibiotics were not common and affordable, I presume. They came to the family with all forms of skin diseases and waterborne diseases, which my mother had to help with their treatment. At a tender age, I watched one particular teenage boy who my mother, a very kind-hearted woman, had to live with and handle his health challenges, even when she was advised by people to just send him back to his village. All I can remember was that the illness was periodical and incapacitated him whenever it occurred. He had his own method of using broomstick to coil up the worms, depending on how many openings he had at a period. And according to him, this was to make sure that the worms are held in place as it crawls out till it breaks off due to any human error. The worm would reoccur or open up another spot on his leg. According to him, it's not my experience. He said the pain was very excruciating. Very frequent visits to the hospital, and with special attention, he got better. The explanation we were given about the illness, you know, children, we ridiculed him, we made fun of him. It was smelly, so when he comes in, we'll stand up. So the adults had to educate us that the worms coming out of his skin, especially his feet, was that was caused by dirty water. How? The inquisitive young girl, me, I could not decode that. This early experience turned me into a young girl that noticed water in all its forms, in all its sizes, and I was thus very mindful of water and all it had to offer. Incidentally, it turned me into somebody who loves drinking Coca-Cola. All those in my department know me for that. In an extended family full of lawyers, the Ibezako family of Obole Olosia. Award, a scholarship with all expenses paid. My food, my dress, everything was paid for. Books were paid for. From outside Nigeria, we could order for books. The term and condition of the service was that I must continue in the Department of Geography, where I won the scholarship to be able to utilize it. Greed sets in. At this point, the department was not also willing to sign me out. My fate as a geographer was sealed. However, by my 200 level, I noticed that one of the areas of specialization in geography in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, was hydrology and water resources. My experiences as a child and unanswered questions about water came to mind. And I decided there and then that even though geography should be country and location, I'll take it to another level. I decided then and there that water that gives out warm, that has haunted me all these years, must be solved. Today, I am happily fulfilled, not just as a geographer, but also as a specialist in hydrology and water resource management, who has been able to appreciate the terms of water gives out worms as expressed by my early educators. Water gives out worms simply meant guinea worm. So I don't know how they interpreted it in that way, and we were traumatized all the days of our life. I found the beauty of this area of specialization and carved a niche for myself. A definition of this discipline will clear this doubt, because people are always asking me, what are you doing with us when I go for conferences? Hydro comes from the Greek word for water. Hydrology is simply the study of water, scientific study of water. It is the study of water, movement of water, distribution, properties, and the management of water within the atmosphere and on the earth's surface and beneath the earth's surface. The social science aspect of hydrology is called social hydrology. It focuses on the interconnectedness of human societies and water systems. It examines how they co-evolve and influence each other. It also seeks to appreciate how social behaviors, institutions, and cultural norms affect water management. If you go to a rural area and you want to institute something in the rural area, you better discuss with them and find out what their culture is, or you won't make a success of it. So that is part of what we study. Water resource management is the process of planning, developing, and managing water resources to meet human and environmental need. The major objective of water resource is to efficiently allocate water in a manner that is sustainable. You don't finish using and another person can't use. It is also about sustenance and equitable use of water resources. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished professors, academicians, ladies and gentlemen, my lecture today is divided into 7 sections. There is the introduction, contribution to hydrology, the global and water resource stress and security syndrome, scenario, recommendations, conclusion, acknowledgements, and then my reference. Introduction. Water is a liquid. It can also appear as solid or gaseous. Within the atmosphere, gaseous. It is odorless, it is colorless, and it is tasteless. It has no smell, and it falls from the clouds. I'm putting it in a layman's language so everybody will understand. It falls from the clouds. You can see that rainfall has already honored me by falling before we came in here. It has honored that I'm standing here today. It has no smell, and it forms the lakes and the rivers and seas that you see around us. It is also used for domestic activities, agricultural activities, and industrial activities. Water is not just a commodity. It is a fragile, precious commodity. It is vulnerable. If you do anything to it, you distort its ability to become useful. I would want to say that we would still be handling COVID today if water was not available. True or false? The doctors can answer. The
The simple instruction was wash your hands, sanitize it, but water had to be there. Without water, we wouldn't have overcome COVID. So it's a fragile resource that is very important. You and I won't be here. We won't be sitting near each other if we didn't take a bath, we didn't brush our mouth. So our life begins first with water and ends with water. We drink water before we sleep. 70% of the earth is made up of water. And it is thought to be plentiful. If you look at a map, you'll see it. It's more of water than land. It is only 30% that is land. But 90% of this 70% occurs as oceans. And ocean is loaded with salt. It's saline, so you can't use it in that form. However, of the remaining 3%, 2/3 of it is locked as your ice, your groundwater. You must do something to put it to use. So that's why we say it is locked. It is not readily available for use. Although there is plenty of water in the earth, water in rivers and lakes are replenished mainly by rainfall. So every time we pray and we say, oh God, let it not rain, remember you're telling God, let the rivers not be replenished. Let your boreholes, because we all have boreholes in our homes, let it not be replenished. That's what we're asking God for. So water is replenished in this form. When the rain falls and there's infiltration, then you would have that situation where the aquifers and the rivers are replenished. The reality of the distribution of water pattern over the Earth's surface shows that water is unevenly distributed. You don't get it where you want it. Flying over Algeria, I was shocked to see that we didn't see any surface water. It was all land. Algeria. So they have a challenge when you talk of water. While some places have surplus, while others have deficits, they don't have at all. There are thus two categories of countries, the water-rich countries and the water-poor countries. If you look at the chart we have there, you see the water-rich countries, Iceland, Suriname, Canada, Norway. The big names are not actually there. We have the poor countries, the Kuwait, the Egypt, Yemen, and so on and so forth. All these countries the poor countries are loaded with mineral, but they lack water. So God gives whoever he wants to give. Nature. If you want to quarrel with God, then I'll tell you nature. But God gives whoever he wants to give. Different countries have different amounts of water. So we can generally classify water availability based on location of the countries. Globally, we can classify water variability in terms of where it lies. There are countries that lie close to the equator. Those countries that lie close to the equator, they have enough water because they have enough rainfall. From 30 degrees latitude, water is scarce. From 30 degrees latitude north, from 30 degrees latitude south, water is scarce. It is because of unavailability of rainfall. So God, in his infinite mercy, has created it to be so. The regions that are most water stressed are the Middle East and the Northeast, and they are referred to as the MENA countries. We refer to them as the MENA countries. They are water stressed. They don't have. But some of these countries, like I said, are very rich, so they are able to overcome their challenge. A country like United Arab Emirates avoids agriculture. Agriculture is water intensive. So they avoid agriculture, they import their goods to have enough water. They also practice desalination. They also practice long-distance water transfer just to have enough water. Note that rapid industrialization and urbanization and also population growth and climate change all intensify competition for water. The provision of adequate water supply for a rapidly increasing demand is becoming a major problem in every country. No country is free of this. A major problem. It's a major problem for many countries and many governments. They invest so much. Those that have been able to overcome, they invest so much to be able to overcome. So, over the years, to tackle the issue of water scarcity, water stress and security, and other related challenges, there have been various summits to work out plans of action to build a global partnership. You give me, I give you. That's what we're talking about. In June 1992, at the Earth Summit in Brazil, where you had more than 178 countries, the countries adopted the Agenda 21. The Agenda 21 simply had the plan to have a comprehensive plan of action to build a global partnership for sustainable development, to improve human life and protect the environment. This gave rise to the Millennium Development Goal. The Millennium Development Goal had 8 goals, and it was targeted at reducing extreme poverty by the year 2015. I had started research then, so my interest drifted to this. Since the MDG goals were supposed to be attained, we should have attained it by 2015. By 2013, a new proposal on the sustainable development, that is planning well. By 2013, they were already thinking of what will happen to countries that didn't attain this. And they were able to adopt another agenda, and it gave rise to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I heard my colleague being introduced as the lady to man 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This has been on since September 2015. The objective of the Sustainable Goal is to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all by the year 2030. Are we not getting nearer to that? The Millennium Development Goal 8 has 18 targets. The Millennium Development Goal 7, which is to ensure environmental sustainability, has embedded in it. Its target 10 says to halve the population that has no access to water by 2015. 2015 has come and gone, and did we really have the population that has no water? It looks like we're going backwards instead of moving forward. The proportion of people without safe water in Nigeria seems to be increasing instead of fulfilling what we dreamt of. What you have there are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The 6th one is specific now, completely. It says clean water and sanitation for all by the year 2030, and we're wondering, are we there yet? The 17 development goals are interwoven. None is absolutely workable without input from water. The success of each goal begins with water. You want to go to school, you must take a bath. You want to produce a cloth, you must use water. Everything about our life is centered around water. After air, water is one thing that you can't do without. The Sustainable Development Goals are 17 in number. They are interwoven, and they were adopted in 2015. The Sustainable Goal 6 clearly declares the importance of achieving clean water and sanitation for all. The Goal 6 has 6 targets. The Goal 3 and 4, if attained by any country, would bring the best out in terms of water availability for the country. Suffice it to say that according to the United Nations by 2015, 1.8 billion people will face absolute water scarcity. 4 billion people will face severe water scarcity. If that is the case, then we have a lot to do. The researcher, having worked and spent more than 3.5 decades on this line of inquiry, is very reluctant to agree that the Millennium Development Goal 6, targets 10, and Goal SDG Goal 6 and Target 3 and 4 have been effectively handled in Nigeria, and attaining the set goal is possible in view of the remaining 5 years. This is especially because of the poor water governance we are facing. Environmental challenges and government actions are even heightening this crucial issue. So we need to wake up. Wake up. That is what we need to say to Nigeria. Wake up. The scope of today's lecture. The plan of this lecture is to provide understandings as well as create awareness of the impending risks awaiting Nigeria due to the negligence of our water resources, the effect of inefficient and poor water governance. I also would buttress it with research work and field work. The audience will begin to appreciate water as a resource manager does. Everyone present today will be sensitized to become a watchdog of our water resources. That is the target of my study, of my lecture. Clarification of terms. When we talk of water scarcity, if we have 50 lecturers, 50 water resources, we will have 50 definitions. But generally, the one thing in common is that there is excess demand over water supply. There is an excess demand over water supply. In layman's language, water scarcity is defined as water deficiency. You do not have enough, or a lack of safe water. You cannot use what you have. That is water scarcity. It's noted in terms of volumes of renewable resources. Water scarcity manifests in two forms. We have the water scarcity due to physical factor, we have physical scarcity and we have economic scarcity. When we talk of physical scarcity, we're referring to water being insufficient in a location. There is water insufficiency. That means the water bodies are very few. When we talk of economic water scarcity, we're simply saying that there are inadequate infrastructures. So you have the water, but you have not used it well. That is what we're trying to say. When physical and economic conditions aid water scarcity, it tends to lead to severe water scarcity. And it is very common in countries that have very low rainfall, inadequate water management. Water scarcity is primarily caused by a combination of the two in most cases. Water scarcity can further be divided into apparent scarcity and real scarcity. Real scarcity means on the earth's surface you don't have it. Apparent scarcity is you have it, but you can still perceive the scarcity because you have not put the water to good use. You have not efficiently used it. You have not put the structures in place. And water scarcity can be absolute or it can be localized. It can be absolute or it can be localized. So I see the sale of the book is ongoing. So in the book you will see all the definitions and all you need to understand about water. The map shows the number of months in which water scarcity is greater than 100%. If globally there is no country that doesn't have that month where it is scarcity is greater than 100%. The figure 2 shows the 1995 situation. It shows the 1995 situation and the 2025 situation. It's properly discussed in my work that is being ongoing. Please purchase one and educate yourselves. There are majorly four factors, four major drivers of physical water scarcity. The climate-driven water scarcity, the pollution-driven, population-driven, and demand-driven. The climate water scarcity was handled extensively by my colleague, when he presented his inaugural lecture. Please purchase it if you don't have, and educate yourself. It's not enough to be ignorant. When you have climate change, it causes erratic hydrological conditions in a place. The erratic condition could bring water deficit, or it could give rise to excess water. Deficits when you have little, and excess when you have your flood. In Benin, they refer to flood as erosion. Please, I want to correct that impression today. It is not erosion, it's flood. Water stress occurs when demand for safe, usable water in a given area exceeds the supply. If we consider water stress as a noun, we will view it in two ways. Physiological stress experienced by plants, and a situation in which the water resources in a country are insufficient. That is water stress. We can further divide it to be the drought stress and the salinity stress. Drought stress, you don't have water at all. Salinity stress, when you have salt intrusion into the soil or salt intrusion into the water body. Water stress had better not occur before we take action. A country is considered to be water stressed when it's grouped in percentages. When your annual fresh water, you use up 20 to 40% of your annual stress water. We'll say the country is stressed. Severe stress occurs when you use 40%. Extreme stress occurs when you use up 80%. Most water stressed countries are in the Middle East, the MENA countries, like I told you. There are majorly 10 countries that are known as water stressed, and I have listed them there. It's listed in the book: Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo. For want of time, please read up. I'm almost going into the lecture hall. Central African Republic and Chad currently face severe challenges with low access to safety, especially in terms of their drinking water. It's projected that by the year 2040, no country will be exempted from being classed as water stressed, and we need to do something about that. The water stress drivers, what causes water stress is what we're talking about. It could be factors that increase demand, anything that increases demand. When you have an increase in population, when you increase agricultural practice, it would increase stress. Factors that also limit water supply, anything that limits water supply, your climate change, the drought, the over-abstraction. We're abstracting our groundwater now. Very soon we'll be crying, we cannot find. Saltwater encroachment would also cause water stress in an area. Then also factors that make the water unusable. You pour your waste into the water body and you walk away. You are also encouraging water scarcity to prevail. Poor infrastructure and land use changes, they all aid water scarcity and water stress. The Oxford Dictionary, when we talk about water security, it is not only the Boko Haram that needs security, water needs security. The Oxford Dictionary simply says it is defined as a state where we have reliable access to water. So when we don't have reliable access to water, if there's a drum here and I spit into it and we lock all these rooms for 3 days, we're already in a situation where there's water insecurity, right? Because you will not drink it. If somebody else urinates into it, you're not going to touch it. So anything that compromises the water turns it into something that no one would want to use. And that's what we're talking about when we say water security. Somebody asked me, are you going to talk of security in the north? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about ensuring that water is in fact made potable. I can pick water from anywhere and drink, and I'll be sure that it will not bring the worms that will come out from my leg. There are three major factors that help you ensure, that helps us ensure that we have sustainable water security. The hydrological environment, here we're talking of, is water in there for you. If water is in your space, God has given you water, you have hydrological environment that is favorable. It is easy to manage, you can do whatever you want, even if you're poor. Then you have the socioeconomic environment where Naira and Co, I don't know if I'll say dollar, makes it difficult, makes it possible for you to manage whatever is in your environment. Then climate change, we've said so much about it in previous lectures. Please, when these lectures occur, pick up one. You educate yourself when you do that. Then we have the word syndrome. I want to borrow from the medical science. I've been harassed by doctors who can't understand why I used the term. Syndrome is defined as a group of symptoms which consistently occur together. Syndromes are described as a group of signs or symptoms. The word basically means running together. When you go to a doctor, you say you have, I have malaria. They want to understand. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have that? That is what tells them what you're actually manifesting. So in the same way, these three syndromes, when you have scarcity, a place becomes stressed and there is no longer water security. When you have a safe environment, a safe security, then you will have stress-free water resource, and you will also have a scarcity that is not in existence. Over the years, I'm now talking of my contributions to sorry, excuse me. My contributions to hydrology and water resources. I've taught, I have supervised, and I can confidently say that I have produced students that are water resources. I have also produced students in other areas of geography. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished professors and students, ladies and gentlemen, I have spent all of my working life in academics, 1987 to date. When I went into lecturing, I was called baby lecturer. Today, I am a matured lecturer. I have done this in two different universities. The University of Nigeria and Nsukka that found me and employed me. They came looking for me and employed me. And then I have supervised more than, and then the University of Benin that has kept me. I have supervised more than, I make bold to say 120 BSc projects. I've done more than 40 MSc desertifications, and I have 4 successful PhD students. Currently, I have my PhD students all around. So I'm trying to replicate myself before I step out. Research contributions to knowledge and policies. I would concentrate on my research works that reflect the topic in question today. Anyadike and EZEMONYE, for want of time, I would also say please get my work, and you can see that we carried out work on the structural, you see Anyadike and Ibesiako, that's my maiden name. 1987, I started that early, doing this and that, and eventually narrowed down to water. We did a study on residential water in Enugu, and we found that federal government says the minimum water anybody should use is 115 liters per day. But in Nigeria today, you and I, we can manage 4 liters, right or wrong? So we're nowhere near security. EZEMONYE 2010 studied the dynamics of water quality accessibility in Onitsha, Southeast. This was necessitated by water scarcity and crisis in Onitsha. There's a common joke there, I'm from the place, that as soon as the governor came and he said, the governor, let me not call names, it shall be well with you. Anambra State started digging boreholes. The greater Onitsha water scheme failed, and till date, it is impossible to resuscitate whatever was there. I tried to do a field work there. I was chased out with cutlass and knife recently. People have occupied the place. It's no longer a borehole. So we've done studies on ambient monitoring of hand-dug wells. I've done a lot of studies on water quality. You need to know the water quality of a place before you can use it. People always say, is that all you can do? If you and I drink it, we will have worms. True or false, the doctors will tell us better. EZEMONYE and Meribe 2010, we examined flood and the adaptation. We tried to find out, because excess flood, every year it's annually a challenge in most places. We come to a solution and we say, oh, we were stuck there. We should know that we will be stuck there in the rainy season. It's a known factor. So we did a study and we tried to find out, is there an adaptation pattern in place, pre and post? Before it occurs, do they do something before when it happens, what do they do? And we found out that there's hardly any. There's rescheduling of duty and so on. We also did work on the aims of the water. We tried to find out what can be done to contain what we are experiencing. And we found out that water demand management, it's a tool that we can use. It says retrofit, sell water. I can sell to my neighbor and so on. There are so many things under water demand management, and we don't have any in place in Nigeria. I wish I had the whole day to tell you the story of my journey in hydrology. Other related researches are listed above, each one of them targeted at understanding water and its, okay. The global water scarcity scenario, there are countries that are water, like I have told you. Singapore is one of those countries that has water all around it, yet it is water poor. Please read what I have written there, you'll enjoy it. This is Nigeria. We're showing the rivers. Is water our problem? Is physical water scarcity our problem? You can answer. So, the next map shows you Africa. Nigeria is under economic water scarcity, and I completely agree with them. I completely agree with them. We have the water resources, but we have not managed it well. We will consider an existing situation. Please, I want to state here that I have no tribal inclination. I have no political inclination. Having been trained in a federal government college, this is purely for academic work. The picture we have here is the relics of Edo State Water Board. I'm not criticizing everyone. It's the same in every state, but we have to face our reality. You see, this is what is supposed to be supplying us water. I want to see who will stand up here and tell me that my tap ran today because I didn't pump my borehole. Nobody can. So you understand what I'm saying. You see the relics? The condemned iron boys have finished us. I don't know who condemned it, but they have called it condemned. You can see the chemicals that are supposed to be utilized for sterilizing water. I did a field work just to show you that I am not talking jargon. It is real and it is before us. It is the dogs that are enjoying it now. If we decide that we want to do anything about our water situation, we will find out that we can hardly do that. See the electrical appliances there, they have all been vandalized. Vice Chancellor, sir, you can tell us better what it took you to get the meters for us and what we have there. The governor has an uphill task before him, but I'm sure he can overcome it if he faces it. Recommendations. I still maintain that water governance should go back to it should be given back to the government. The government should step up and take up its responsibility. It's not enough for everybody to have a borehole. We should have tax, polluters tax, where the water bodies that are being polluted. And then the lawyers should enforce it. It's not just enough to put a law in place. Get lawyers to enforce it so that the companies would not do that. You can see all my recommendations as you go through. I still at all points maintain that water governance should be the priority of every government. Acknowledgements. I am grateful to Almighty God who made it possible for me to be here today. A special thanks goes to the Vice Chancellor for allowing me to deliver this lecture. Similarly, I want to extend my gratitude to all the principal officers, the registrar, the bursar, the librarian, the deputy registrar who I worked closely with. I am grateful to my parents who didn't just call me a girl and dump me somewhere. They made me who I am today. I must acknowledge my senior sister, Uchenna, and her husband. Their home in America set my mind thinking beyond what I had seen in Nigeria. My sister, Chiedu Chiazoya, thank you for being my special sister. I also want to acknowledge my one and only brother, the only one who talks sense and makes me push. If you were to be here now, he will say, they gave you paper. I'm not supposed to be given paper. I cherish all the early educators. My auntie Echenwa, she took me to the bank and showed me bankers walking with their heels and told me that is what you will be if you work hard. My primary school, primary 4 teacher, Mrs. Grace Uguegede, she taught us to ask questions. I ask a lot of questions. I don't pretend I know it all. My students will tell you. She taught us one phrase, one saying. He who knows not and knows not that he knows not is a fool. That lived with me from primary 4. If you know not and you know not that you know not, you're a fool. Ask questions. I am very grateful to my academic supervisor. He supervised undergraduate, MSc, and BSc and PhD before he died. Late Professor R.S.C. Anyadike, his name is resounding in UNN. I have to specially thank all the staff of Geography Department, University of Nigeria, and Nsukka. That's where I started. My department in here, I appreciate you all. I can't call all the names because of want of time. To my numerous PhD and MSc, BSc students, thank you for being here. I am very grateful to Mr. ONYE. Anywhere I went to do field work, when they pulled the knife, he's behind me. He wasn't my brother, but he was readily available to help me. I am exceptionally grateful to Ngozi Okechukwu and her children. Their home was where I stayed most times when I was doing my PhD. I am eternally grateful to the family of my father's dynasty, the Ibeziako family. I call them the wig and gown people, because if you're not a lawyer, you don't belong. But now I challenge them. I always say, but Prof is speaking, and I can talk. Special appreciation. Okay. I appreciate my children, Somto EZEMONYE, Dr. Somto EZEMONYE, ONYE EZEMONYE, and Co-Sister EZEMONYE, Godibe EZEMONYE. Thank you for making me so proud. Thank you for making me Mamandi Doctor. That's what I'm called. I appreciate all my sons-in-law. They are my loving sons-in-law. I appreciate my grandchildren. I'm blessed with 6 or 7. I don't know again. They came early to my life. I give all the glory to my husband, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu, the husband of my youth. You are the best decision I have made in my life by deciding to do life with you. I call you my APM. You want to know the meaning of APM? Absolute peace of mind. The PRO can speak and can justify what I have just claimed. I thank the Lord, and I am extraordinarily thankful to the Vice Chancellor that he made today possible. Thank you, sir. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here in spite of the rain. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once you carry your water, you will know the value of water.
Thank you, Ma. A big round of applause. Clap, 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 clap. Thank you very much. Please sit as I now respectfully the Vice Chancellor to recapitulate the lecture. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you so much. Mine is to do a synopsis of this very engaging lecture. According to the lecturer, Professor Mrs. EZEMONYE, water scarcity and water stress are critical global challenges. She said that 4 billion people, about that number, face water scarcity almost routinely. The lecturer highlights countries identified as water-rich and water-poor countries, according to international standards. The lecture offered explanation of the concept of water scarcity, water stress, and water security. Water security is classified into 2, namely physical and economic water scarcity. Water scarcity is further subdivided into real, apparent, and absolute water scarcity. According to Professor EZEMONYE, 4 major drivers of physical water scarcity are climate, pollution, population, and demand. Water stress is also discussed, and 2 conditions, excess and deficit, are identified as major causes of water stress. The lecturer explains that the most commonly encountered is deficit stress. There is also salinity, that is salt intrusion, and physiological, that is plant stress. 10 countries, according to the lecturer, top the water stress list, and the first 3 are Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Ethiopia, all in Africa. Water stress drivers arise from these 3 ways, namely factors that increase demand, factors that limit water supply, and factors that affect unusable water. Water security is also defined by the lecturer. It's pointed out that the opposite of water security is water insecurity. A country with water security has enough water of sufficient quality, according to the lecturer, for its survival and productive activities. 3 major factors determine if a country will have water security, and these are hydrological environment, socio-economic environment, and change in future environment. These 3 are considered to be syndromes. They exist together and affect each other, according to the lecturer. The third contribution is to ascertain how far a developing country like Nigeria has tried to achieve the set development goals and the sustainable development goals. The studies cover various aspects of water resource management. One of the many outstanding contributions or findings is the shortcoming arising from poor water governance by different states of the country. This was buttressed by relics of the Edo State Urban Water Board, which the lecturer also highlights very copiously. The lecturer recommends that states in Nigeria should not wait till day 0 before taking corrective actions. To achieve results, the lecturer advocates that there is need to create awareness that groundwater abstraction at boreholes should not be the new normal. Second, that we should ensure regular monitoring of water beds, of water bodies, to know the health status of water bodies. And this is related to, of course, the proliferation of boreholes, because they just go there and now sink boreholes. Nobody, actually verify the cleanness of the water. The lecturer also advocates that government should introduce polluter pay principle, what she describes as polluter tax. It's right for industries that discharge their waste into water bodies or land surface. not so effectively enforce them. She realized that it's not enough to just legislate, must place emphasis on enforcement. She also said in her fourth recommendation, the state government needs to show an interest in water governance by reviving water supply to the populace and investing in water infrastructure. Without government involvement, according to the lecturer, very little will be achieved in overcoming water scarcity, water stress, and attaining water security. She concludes that a country that destroys our water resources destroys herself. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please can we put our hands together to celebrate our guest lecturer for today. Please permit me, before I step aside, to especially also acknowledge the presence of former Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Faraday Orumensi. I think I must have missed that out somewhere along the line. So I have to correct myself. Pardon me, sir, for my omission. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. May God continue to bless all of us.
Please put your hands together for our Vice Chancellor as we now invite immediate family members to join the lecturer as the Vice Chancellor decorates her. Immediate family members, husband, children, brother, sister. And while that is being done, we want to welcome very specially the spouse of the lecturer, Vice Chancellor of Canadian University Okada and Chairman Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, Professor Lawrence EZEMONYE. Please clap for him. The children, Goli Benachuku EZEMONYE is here. The others, I believe, are out of the country. We welcome very specially the Magani Zauzau and Pro-Chancellor, Canadian University Okada, Professor Ahmed Mora, OON. Welcome, sir. Join me also to welcome our former Vice Chancellors, Professor Emeritus Andrew Onoke Oraye. Daddy, welcome. Welcome another Vice Chancellor, Professor Faraday Osase Orumesi. Welcome, sir. We welcome Professor Emeritus Nusa Irafona. We welcome the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Canadian University, Professor Raphael Adere. We welcome you. We welcome the Registrar of Canadian University, Mr. Hola Orge. We welcome the Bursar of Canadian University, Sir Emmanuel Imafidon. We welcome the Librarian of Canadian University, Professor Lucky Abdul Salami. Join me to welcome the Dean Postgraduate School of Canadian University, Professor Deborah Odejimi. Welcome the Dean School of, please applaud them, encourage them. We welcome the Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences of Canadian University, Professor Spencer Wagu. Welcome the Acting Dean College of Pharmacy of Canadian University, Dr. John Bull Oba Isiagna. We welcome the Dean College of Arts and Social Sciences of Canadian University, Professor Blessing Olibi. Welcome the Dean of Law of Canadian University, Professor George Izeruwa. We welcome the Director, IPTO, Canadian University, Professor Charity Emaviwe. We welcome the Director of JUPEB, Canadian University, Professor S. Josiah. It's Canadian University all the way. But we want to welcome the National President, Nigerian Environmental Society, Dr. Limson Okobia. We welcome the Director of Zoological Garden and Nature Park and my darling husband, Sir Andrew Ehanire. We welcome Sir Alan Omorogbe, my brother-in-law. We welcome Mr. Rix Aburime. We welcome you, sirs. We welcome the Chancellor, Catholic Archdiocese of Benin, Very Reverend Father Dr. Michael Oyanuafo. We welcome the Parish Priest, Holy Rosary Catholic Church, Benin City, Reverend Father Francis Igudia. We welcome the Vicar General, Archdiocese of Benin, Reverend Father Dr. Augustine Ehigie. We welcome our own Professor Mrs. Medina Kadiri and Professor Mrs. Kokunwe Irafona. We welcome MD CEO UMI Development Foundation, Ms. Yuwa Naps. We welcome MD Capital Gain Limited, Mr. Francis Chukwedo. We welcome Ambassador of Peace, United Nations, Ambassador Ayamekwe Edokbolo. We welcome past President Lions Club of Benin City, Lion Galvin Osayende. We welcome MD CEO at SAID Nigeria Limited, Dr. Sonny Dokpesi. We welcome Director Sedicom Uniben, Professor Cyprian Oshoma. We welcome the former Dean of Life Sciences Uniben, Professor Chris Okaka. We welcome all Uniben, all Igbenedion University families. We welcome all family members. We welcome all colleagues. We welcome all friends and well-wishers. And thank you all for coming. That's how we conclude the 354th inaugural lecture of the University of Benin. But just before we go, please rise for the Uniben anthem and the third stanza of the national anthem. Welcome Dr. Tom Obaseki. Welcome, sir. Professor Ariabie, welcome you. Professor Amenamu, welcome you. Yes. Holy Rosary Catholic Church members, we welcome you all specially. And so, McDonald. Standing for the Vice Chancellor's procession to leave the auditorium.